back to my channel. I am Sidney Brooks, and this channel is all about healing heart and home, where together we help each other heal our hearts so we can build our home. And today we are talking about my birth story.
My word is bond, we don't spit no lies.
For reference, I am 28 years old. I live in Los Angeles, California, and this is my first ever pregnancy and obviously my first ever birth. Okay, so where do we begin? First of all, pregnancy is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this beautiful, I am with child, I am holding my belly, I'm getting fat, eating what I want. No, that is not the case at all. Oh my goodness, pregnancy has been romanticized in movies and TV shows so much. And the real is, it's not always a cakewalk. And I'll tell you my story on this. And this is a disclaimer. What I'm going to say right now is just my experience. Your experience, if you are pregnant currently or looking to becoming pregnant, or if you're a first-time mom, this is not going to be your experience. This is tailored to me. So take what I say as just, this is my story, this is what I learned throughout this process. I'm not giving any type of advice at all, okay? I was sick all the time, every single day. Morning sickness should have a label on it that it's not just morning sickness, it is all day sickness. Did not know that. Okay, so I was throwing up profusely all the time. My favorite foods, I could not stomach it anymore. I was craving meat, and I was pescatarian for 7 years prior. Now I love a steak. So morning sickness is to be expected in some pregnancies. So aside from all of that and feeling like crap, I was having a normal pregnancy until week 30 hit. Quite literally, because my husband and I got rear-ended on a Los Angeles highway. Yeah, I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. So my husband and I got rear-ended on the highway. Thankfully, the airbags did not deploy, and also thankfully, it was in front of several officers that were dealing with another accident on the highway. So we had witnesses. We had great witnesses, actually. And immediately, I felt my stomach, and I tried to stay calm, but my little baby boy was kicking profusely before that impact. And once that car, bam, rammed into us, I didn't feel his kicks anymore. And of course, as a mom, a parent, a pregnant woman, that's really scary, right? I felt fine, but I just needed to make sure that baby boy was okay. So we immediately went to the ER. Once we get in there, that ER was having a time, let me tell you. There was a man who was bleeding out of his head. There was a screw in there. No one was helping him. There was no ice pack. There was no towel. He was just dripping everywhere. There were people coughing. I was like, I cannot afford, one, to get sick again. I'm finally feeling better. I finally just had my baby shower. I'm feeling energetic. I could do DIY. It's a whole room makeover at this point. I'm like, please, Lord, do not let me get sick. And then also, someone please attend to this bleeding man. His head is bleeding out. So, okay, besides the point. We get wheeled in there, right? And I am increasingly more anxious. And I'm trying to stay calm. I'm trying not to let the baby feel my anxiety. But I'm like, where is my baby boy? Why isn't he kicking? Also, I am not trying to get sick in here. We need to get immediate attention, and thank God we did. Once they knew that I was 7 months pregnant at that time, they immediately rushed me into labor and delivery on the 5th floor. I get there, we're in triage, and then my husband has to leave while they do the initial readings and questions and all of that. Great, normal protocol. So they hooked me up to the machines to monitor my baby's heart rate and his movements. And that felt like the longest minute of my life. Oh, the exhale that I had when I heard ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. The exhale that I had was so enormous. Just to know that he was okay. Just to know that he was good. So then the doctor on call, he did an ultrasound. He said my placenta was good. There was no leakage. Everything is great with baby. He looks perfect. As he is. And then he said, okay, let's check your blood pressure. Fine. That's okay with me. You know, I got my blood pressure checked every single time I've had an appointment before that, and I've never had high blood pressure before. Everything is always great. I'm like, do the thing, here's my arm. And it was high. Very high. The doctor told the nurse not to put that high reading in my chart. He said, it's just the nerves of the accident. Let's keep this in mind. So let's call this doctor Dr. James, okay? Dr. James said, do not put this in her chart because it's just the nerves of the accident, right? I clocked my rating, I keep saying rating, it's reading. I clocked my reading and I memorized it to put in the back of my head, because if someone says don't put something in your chart, that's something to note, okay? If you're pregnant or not pregnant, always note that and advocate for yourself. Speak up. I should have done that. You'll see why. So the nurse said, we'll take your blood pressure again in 15 minutes. 15 minutes rolls around, they take it again. It has significantly gone down. It's still elevated, but in a normal range. Perfect, fine. They tell me that I will be in triage for 5 hours, just making sure that baby and I are safe. Great, they bring my husband in. At the end of these 5 hours, when I tell you we were freezing cold, our butts were sore, we were just ready to go home. We were so grateful for the team. We were so grateful that we went and got, checked out. We were hungry and we were just ready to go home. At this time, it was almost midnight, right? So another doctor comes in. This is a female doctor. Great, wonderful doctor. She comes in, she says, all right, you're almost ready to be discharged, but first we need to make sure that you are stable. Baby looks perfect, but we have to make sure that, you're good to go. Let's check your blood pressure. She takes my blood pressure again. I'm just like, normal, do the thing. It was high. She said, oh, well, this is your first high reading, right? I said, no. She said, what? Like, literally, what? Like, she started to yell a little bit in the room. It's a small room, and that was a lot of energy, but I appreciated her energy. And she said, what do you mean? I said, oh, earlier when I first came in, I had a reading of blank over blank. And she said, oh my gosh. I said, yes. And Dr. James told the nurse so-and-so, yeah, I was dropping names. I remembered everybody's name in there. I said, Dr. James told nurse blah, 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 not to put it in my chart because it was of nerves. This doctor was having a fit. She said, what? Oh my gosh. She went out of the room. She said, so no one's going to say that she had high blood pressure when she first came in? She was not having it. So she came back in and she said, well, we need to keep you here for another few hours to monitor your blood pressure every 10 minutes. This is not okay. This is very dangerous. I'm over here not knowing a thing about blood pressure, high blood pressure, low blood pressure. I didn't even know what the safe zone of blood pressure was. I heard 120 over 80 before, but I didn't know that was a blood pressure reading. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not educated on that. I don't know anyone with high blood pressure who has to be on medicine or anything like that. So I sure enough did not know what the significance of high blood pressure readings meant during pregnancy. So I'm nervous because I'm in the dark. I don't know what's happening. 10 minutes go by. The arm cuff just squeezes and I immediately get a shock through my body of just instant nerves. High reading. I hear beep, 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 beep. Another 10 minutes goes by. Boom. I immediately freeze up. Beep, 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 beep. And then the nurse comes in. She's like, please, you need to relax, breathe, try to go to sleep, think about the ocean. She's like trying to get me into this tranquil state. Meanwhile, I am spiraling mentally. I'm trying to keep calm, but I don't know what's going on. Another 10 minutes, beep, 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 beep. And they're like, please try to just breathe and calm down. I'm like, what's happening? The nurse says, well, the doctor will tell you what's happening. After 3 hours of this, Dr. James comes back. And he just has this, I don't know if you want to consider it arrogance about him. There's some type of feeling I get from Dr. James that just does not mesh well with me at all. He does power poses while he talks to you. He puts his hands on his hips. Then he tries to seem sincere, and I get it. Doctors see death. They see tragedy every single day. They are desensitized. That I understand. What I don't understand is faking like you're sensitive, faking like you are sympathetic towards me in my position. That's what I don't like, and that's what he was doing. He comes in very dramatic. All right, Miss Brooks, I have to tell you something. I have to give you a diagnosis. I'm like, what? He's like, unfortunately, you have what we call gestational hypertension. Okay. First of all, you hear diagnosis, you're like, wait, what? Gestational hypertension? Hypertension? I've never had that a day in my life. So I'm confused. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, is that something that we can fix? Is that something that we can, get to a normal range here? The blood pressure thing, I can get my blood pressure back to normal? He says, no, unfortunately not. There's nothing you can do. And actually, I would start preparing your hospital delivery bag now at 30 weeks. Then he starts going, talking about NICU babies and success rates of that. Then he starts talking about my death percentages and my baby's death percentages. And then he starts talking about seizures and strokes and telling me that I am high risk of preeclampsia and eclampsia, all because of my blood pressure readings. And I'm like, okay, how did I get high blood pressure before? I'd never had that before. All my readings were great before this accident. Is it because of the accident? He said, it's because of your placenta. I said, what? My placenta? He says that there's something in the dad's genes, my husband's genes, that goes into the placenta that makes your blood pressure elevated, at least in my case. And he says that it's differing case to case, partner to partner. He said that he met with one woman who's had babies with the same partner, and then she had a baby with a different partner, and she has high blood pressure. And it's because something in that gene infiltrated the placenta and made it high. So the only way that can stop having high blood pressure is to deliver the placenta, which means deliver my baby. And I'm only 7 months pregnant at this time. I'm devastated. I am boohoo crying like a baby myself. I can't believe it. I can't believe that my happy day just got flipped on its head. I can't believe that I am at risk of a stroke and a seizure. I can't believe that I'm high risk of death, and my baby is high risk of death. And then he sends me home. My husband and I decided not to tell anyone this news right then and there, because it was so fresh for us. And we just needed to process. And we did not need opinions. We did not need anything from the outside world. We needed to be in a bubble. So my phone was put on Do Not Disturb. And after that, the rest of my pregnancy was filled with non-stress tests, which we call NSTs. It was taking my blood pressure multiple times a day. It was logging it. It was being at the hospital 2 to 3 times a week. It was not being able to take a road trip or take a baby moon because I needed to stay put. It was constant thinking and praying at night of, Lord, please do not let me have a seizure in my sleep, or let me not die. You know, like, please don't let my husband wake up one day and his baby and his wife are not here anymore. All these thoughts raced through my head and I tried to suppress it. But every single day I had these thoughts, especially at night. And I had to remind myself that there was a purpose for my life. There's a purpose for my baby's life, that God would not bring me this far to leave me. So that's how my pregnancy continued on. And I just had to constantly, daily, just have faith for myself. I'm that type of friend, that type of person that people come to when they have issues, when they have troubles, when they need someone to uplift them. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for anyone else. I had to give it all to me. I only had faith for myself and my baby. I only had faith for myself and my baby because the risks were so high. And hearing every single week that you would have to be induced now, to hear every single week, oh, your baby will be a preemie baby, to hear every single week that NICU babies most of the time do very well. Most of the time it's not going to be okay with me. And then also the people around me, family and friends, they say these things that they think are harmless and they don't know your situation. They don't know what you're going through. And even if they do, they still think that they're harmless and saying things such as, oh, I hope your baby is born on my birthday. Well, that would mean my baby would be severely premature in that case. Did you think of that? Do you think that when you put out that hope, that wish, that prayer? Or people say, randomly text me, I think your baby is going to be, come here early. I think he's going to be eager to come out. And when I'm hearing all the time by these nurses and doctors that I'm going to potentially have a premature baby, that's not what I want to hear when I come back home. No one wants a premature baby. No one wants the idea of being separated from their child or being in a NICU all the time. So I was professing full term, full term, full term. So we get to 36 weeks. I had already been having contractions, Braxton Hicks contractions, that were non-painful as Braxton Hicks contractions are, from around 34 to 35 weeks. I didn't even know that I was having them week 34, but in the NSTs, they were saying, oh, you're having a contraction, do you feel it? I said no. By week 35, I was starting to feel the Braxton Hicks, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, right? Well, as soon as week 36 hit, the day that it hit, I was feeling some type of contraction. I said, this is not Braxton Hicks. This is real. Okay? I'm going into labor right now. The day before this happened, I actually had a little bit of blood come out. It was spotting. It was almost like you're ending your period and you just have a little bit, or beginning your period, you just have a little bit of blood. And so I woke up with that. I kept calm, collected. I said, husband, we need to go to the hospital. He said, great, let's go. I had a little bit of a bag packed, just put some things in there and said, let's just go. If today's the day, God's got us, right? Did not want it to be the day. I said, God's got us. On the way to the hospital, I called labor and delivery. The nurse that answered the phone call said, oh, spotting is normal for 36 weeks. No, I was 35 and 6. So spotting is normal at 35 weeks. Okay. She said, oh, you don't need to come in. I said, okay, all right. So we just turned the car around, came back home. We had an NST later on that day anyways. So I figured if something were to go wrong or the bleeding increased, we were going to be at the hospital later on in a couple of hours anyways. So we get to the hospital, the NSTs, my blood pressure readings are high again. Keep in mind that during this time of me checking my blood pressure readings, there were some days where they were in the regular range and then they would come back up. So I didn't always have it elevated consistently. But it was high this time. So high that the doctor on call, which was actually my OB, that she sat down and talked to my husband and I. And she said that I would have to go to triage. And at triage, they would probably tell me that I needed an induction today. She told me that this is very severe, this is concerning, and I would have to be induced at 37 weeks. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if I wanted to refuse, which at that point I did, only because I didn't want any type of premature labor. I wanted my body to naturally give birth. I wanted a natural birth experience. I wanted my water to break. I desired that. However, I did desire that my baby and I would be healthy and safe first and foremost. She told me that if I wanted to refuse the induction, I would have to sign a paperwork saying that I am refusing medical advice or guidance. And I said, I am willing to sign that paperwork. And we just had a stare down. And I saw her eyes get sorrowful. And she was like, I really don't want you to do that. I don't recommend it, but I can't force you to do anything. You can do it. I said, that's what I want to do. I just want to give birth naturally. I want him to come when he comes. I don't want the complications of an induction. I don't want to be in labor for 3 days and then have to get a C-section, which can happen most likely with an induction. I didn't want to be on all this mess. I just wanted my body to do what it needed to do. Go up to triage after that conversation, and like she predicted, they said, we are going to induce you today. You're going to have your baby. And I was like, no. No, we're not having my baby at 35 weeks. No. And again, they tell me all about NICU babies and how they typically thrive at this time and that there should be low risk of complication. I was like, let me sign the paperwork. And so I signed it. And I went home, had dinner, had my thoughts, dispelled my thoughts, went to bed at 11 something. It was basically as soon as it hit 12 midnight the next day, I'm awoken out of my sleep by the contractions. So these are not Braxton Hicks. I was like, okay, I'm feeling this. Okay, let me start timing this. Okay, these are getting stronger. Let me try to go to sleep, can't go to sleep. Let me try to go to sleep, can't go to sleep. This continued for hours and hours, and I'm over here silently just like, writhing in pain. And it gets to the point where I go to the bathroom and I see blood. This is more blood than before. I said, okay, I'm fine. Go back into the bed. The pain got so severe. I go back to the bathroom and I pass a blood clot, very small. I said, okay, I don't know if that's normal. Try to go back to sleep. The pain got worse. I passed a bigger blood clot. I said, okay, something is wrong. At this point, I had labored for 13 hours at home. I know that sounds crazy. Just keep in mind, the labor started at 12 midnight. So I labored until 3 p.m. My husband was like, this is enough. We're going to the hospital. We made sure we had all the bags packed. The car seat was in the car. We were ready to go because in my head, I was about to give birth naturally, but early and on my own. My husband was like, I don't think this is not it. You're not about to have your baby today. He was like, we're going to the hospital, but like, nah, this can't be. I was like, I think the baby's coming today. So I am in so much pain. I'm in so much pain. I'm trying to do all the breathing techniques that I'm learning on YouTube. I'm trying to moo and like all these breaths that I've learned over the course of the last few months. I'm trying to breathe the baby down. Listen, that did not work for me. I was in so much pain and my contractions were getting like 2 minutes apart. Lasting for 30 seconds, 2 minutes apart. The most intense pain I've ever felt in my life. If I had to describe it, it was like a period cramp that was on steroids. It was the worst period feeling cramp I've ever had. When it first happened at midnight, I could handle that. It was like nothing. I was like, if that's labor, no epidural for me. No. I was screaming, give me the drugs at this point. I was ready for epidural, some laughing gas, whatever you got. Just shoot me up. Just give it to me. And so we're in the car. We're rushing to the hospital. And I'm just like, oh, I was not having it. We get to the emergency room door. And my husband said, please, Lord, let there be a wheelchair. We need a wheelchair. Right when he said amen, there was a man with a wheelchair that literally crossed in front of our car and parked it right next to me. And then he left. We were like, hallelujah, thank you for the answered prayers. So he gets out the car, he opens my door, he rushes me into the wheelchair. He's like literally swerving me around. And it's crazy because the day before when we were at the hospital, when we signed the paperwork to say that we're not getting induced that day and we were leaving, my husband saw a wheelchair in the parking structure and was like, sit on the parking structure, sit on the wheelchair and I'll wheel you around. Let's like just have fun, you know? So he's like wheeling me around. He said, this is just a rehearsal. This is just a rehearsal, a glimpse of what it's gonna be like when you actually give birth. And then less than 24 hours later, here we are back in the same situation. So he's wheeling me around. I'm having a contraction. He's going through bumps. I'm like, slow it down. It hurts. He's trying to be helpful. I'm yelling at my husband. And I always thought, you know, that it was dramatized in the movie when like the wife is yelling at her husband and going off and going crazy. I was like, I would never be that type of wife. Like, I'm gonna be so loving to my husband because he gave me this child and I'm gonna be so in love in that moment and empowered. No, I was going off on anyone who looked my direction. Okay? So my husband's being so sweet, like, you want me to hold your hair? I'm like, get off of me, don't touch me. So he's wheeling me into the ER. He's like, my wife's going into labor. We're so dramatic. I mean, obviously it's a dramatic situation, but we're so dramatic. He's like, my wife's going into labor. And then we we bypass the security and we get to the receptionist because they have to still check me in even though I'm in active labor. The receptionist starts laughing, and I don't know if he's laughing at like my moans and grunts. I don't know if he's giving a nervous laugh. That's what my husband thinks. He thinks he was giving a nervous laugh because he didn't know how to properly assess the situation. All I know is this man was laughing at me or in my direction and looking me in my eye, and I did not like that. When I tell you I went off on the receptionist, sorry to that man. Sorry to that man because I said something along the lines of, what are you laughing at? This is not a laughing, funny situation. I need to be sent up to labor and delivery on the 5th floor. He's like, I don't know We're gonna take you. I don't know if you need to be here or labor delivery. I was like, I just said I need to be up there on the 5th floor. I know how to get there. Just open the door. I'm just going off. He's laughing. I'm like, there's nothing funny. Stop laughing. So then he calls a coworker. He was like, I don't know where she needs to be. And she's like, labor and delivery, obviously. I was like, thank you. I was like, just take me up there now. He was like, well, I didn't finish signing you in. I was like, I don't care. I'm about to have a baby. You can have my Kaiser card. Take it. I don't need it. I got 3 others at home. And so we quite literally left my medical card with him, and we went upstairs. The lady who was wheeling us upstairs got lost by the time we got to the 5th floor. And I start yelling again. I am getting brutal at this point. I'm saying things like, there's so much incompetence in this hospital. I know, so mean. Oh, I hope I did not hurt their feelings too badly or at all. But yeah, I was going in, because what do you mean you don't know how to get to labor and delivery? I cannot be the only pregnant person that's ever gone into the ER at this hospital. We finally opened up a door, and I said, you know what? I know this door. Just take me through this door. Let me go and take a left, and then I'll be there. Like, I'm over here giving her directions, and I'm almost saying, get me out of this wheelchair. I'm going to walk and run myself up to where I need to be. We finally get to the labor and delivery ward. They send me to triage, and my husband is like, my wife needs drugs. Is there anything you can do for her pain? Is there anything you can do? And they were like, we don't even know her first name. She's not in the system. Who are you? And I'm like, I'm Sidney Brooks, and I'm in labor. And so I was like, you need to go get your car. Your car is still running downstairs. His phone, his wallet, everything was in the car, just like right there, blatantly, just like loose. He's like, okay, well, I'm coming right back up. I'm going to go down there and get your medical card too. I'm like, okay. So he goes, and I see the 2 nurses there, and I was like, is there anything you can do for the pain? They're like, okay, we need to see how dilated you are. The doctor comes in. Oh, wonderful doctor. We love her. Her name is Lauren. Fabulous. So she comes in and she's like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lauren. I said, I'm Sidney. She said, let me check you. I said, great. She said, oh, you're 3 centimeters dilated. In my head, I thought a lot of things with this pregnancy, but in my head, you could have 3 centimeters with the pain that I was feeling. You've got to be joking. I thought I was at least 6. Come on, I thought I was 10. Not 10. But I thought I was about to push this baby out. Like 3 centimeters, and I'm doing all this. Come on. So she said, you're 3 centimeters. At 4, we give the epidural. Would you like to order some food so that you can eat before the epidural? Because after the epidural, you cannot eat at all until your baby is delivered. I said, okay, whatever, fine. Meanwhile, while I'm having all of this interaction, I'm still having the contractions every 2 minutes. So they're asking me a bunch of questions, having contractions in between. I'm in excruciating pain. My husband comes back. I inform him of everything. I'm like, just like, order me something. Just give me some food. Let's do this. I need the epidural stat. They take me into the actual delivery room, and I'm like, this is real. We're about to have the baby. I cannot believe this. What? This is not how I thought my day was going to go. The food arrives. I could not eat because of this. Yeah. So, why was the knife in my hand like that? Like, what was I going to do? So, I could not finish the food. I was like, just please give me the epidural. The epidural, the people come for the epidural. They give me all the risks. I'm just saying a bunch of prayers. I'm like, let's do this. I stay the most still I've ever stayed still in my life. The epidural goes down. For anyone who's wondering, it just feels like the most cooling sensation down your spine, and then you go numb. They check my blood pressure. My blood pressure is high. They check it again, and it's high again. They tell me that it's so high that I would have to be on a magnesium drip. Now, I've heard some things on TikTok about the magnesium drip, and I heard that drip was not okay. I heard that drip was not fun at all. However, I was at that point at a severe risk of having a brain bleed and a seizure. I was at severe preeclampsia at that point, and also I was bleeding out down there. I had so much blood come out that I had to almost get a blood transfusion. However, they checked my blood and they found 2 antibodies in it. I never had this before. They sent the blood over to the Red Cross to figure out what those antibodies are. They came back, they still don't know to this day. That means whatever blood they put into me for this blood transfusion would not be my direct match. And I would have to sign paperwork saying that they could still go ahead and do the blood transfusion with blood that's not a direct match. And I had to be okay with that because I was bleeding out a lot. Thankfully, it never had to happen. But 3 different times they thought I was going to have that. They put the magnesium drip on me, and immediately my body starts to react. I am throwing up, and it is horrible. I keep throwing up. I'm feeling hot, then cold. I'm feeling sick. I'm getting headaches, which is scary because they're telling me if you get a headache, let us know because you could have a potential brain bleed. But I'm getting headaches because of the magnesium that's supposed to help me not get a brain bleed. So we continue on. They're telling me try to go to sleep. They're giving me medicine to stop my nausea. I take a 1-hour nap that feels like 6 hours, and that's all I could sleep until the next day. And then Dr. James comes in. You remember Dr. James? Yeah, I remember Dr. James. Dr. James, he comes in and my blood pressure cuff goes off. I was at normal levels because of that magnesium. As soon as I saw Dr. James, beep, 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 my blood pressure is high. So high. And he comes in and he was like, how's it going, Sidney? Okay, well, I'm the doctor on call. Your doctor had to go and take a break. And I'm thinking to myself, if Dr. James has to deliver my baby, this baby gonna stay in me until Dr. Lauren can come back, okay? I told the nurse immediately after Dr. James left. No, I told my husband immediately after Dr. James left. Dr. James is no longer allowed to come near me at this hospital. If he's no longer able to be in this room. I do not want to see him. I do not want to hear his voice. Please get him out of here. So my husband tells the nurse comes in and says, your request has been heard. He is not allowed to be in this room unless Dr. Lauren has to leave after her break. If this baby is not ready to come, then I almost said his name. Then Dr. James would have to deliver your baby. Nightmare. A few hours go by, and bless her heart, Dr. Lauren ended her break 30 minutes early so she could check me out. And I was 10 centimeters dilated. She said, are you ready to push? And I was like, now? I have to do it now? Okay. So I don't want to labor on my back. I want to breathe through it. I want the baby just to move with the contractions and me to breathe through it. She said, okay, we can try it your way. We can definitely try it your way. Your request has been heard. I'm over here doing all these different positions that I saw on YouTube and TikTok. I'm using the peanut ball and I'm falling asleep. All this breath. I am falling asleep. Now is the time that I'm falling asleep, not before when they told me to sleep. And I feel ridiculous. I feel like a laughing stock at this moment. Dr. Lauren's like, Sidney, you gotta wake up. Sidney, like, can you just try it my way? Just try it, see how it feels for you. If not, we'll go back to your way. You're falling asleep. I said, fine, whatever we need to do, because you are delivering me, Dr. Lauren, not Dr. James. She said, fine, okay, great, I understand. So then all of a sudden, my nurse that's been with me all this time, she says, I have to go. It's time for me to go home. And I'm like, no, don't go. But she needed to go because the two nurses who came in there after her, they were turned up. Especially this one nurse, Nurse Raina. I will never forget you, Nurse Raina. She was like, all right, let's get this baby out. And I was like, what? She was like, I have not had my coffee today, so you gonna pump me up. And I'm like, you're pumping me up. There's a lot of energy over here. Her plus my husband, that combo got me in the headspace. At first, her energy was so much for me to handle and take in at this very intimate, vulnerable time. Like, I thought I was gonna be so serene, right? And I didn't want all that energy, but I needed it. And my husband immediately got hyped with her. And so she's like, do you know how to push? Do you know what it feels like? Do you know what you're kind of zoning in on? What's the goal here, right? Obviously to get the baby out, but like, how does it feel in your body? Even with the epidural, are you in tune with your body and what's going on? So the way that she spoke to me and educated me on it, it clicked in my head. So she was like, okay, let's do a practice push. I did it, and she gave me an adjustment, and then I understood even more. And then I was able to do a correct push. She said, okay, so now that you know how to push, this is the position we're going to have you on. I did labor on my back, which ended up being fine for me. I labored on my back. My husband was going from holding up my leg to being right in front because he wanted to see everything. So he was here, and he was here, and he was here, and he was here. It's like, what can I do? What can I do to help you? And so then Nurse Raina was like, oh, he's involved. Let's get him extra involved. She says, honey, to me. She said, you want to feel his head? That's how close he is to coming out. And I was like, wait a minute. You can see his head? I can feel his head? What do you mean by this? He's like tangible now. She said, yeah, you can feel him and you can see him. The other nurse, she brought out a mirror, and I looked down and I saw his head, and I felt his hair, and I said, oh my gosh, that's my baby. She said, yeah, that's your baby. Now let's push him out so you can properly meet him. Whew, so she said, I know it's going to help. This nurse Raina, she went into a drawer and brought out this container and started shaking it up. She said, this is going to help you. I was like, what is this? She said, this is oil. Now, I had brought some coconut oil, thinking like I'm going to lubricate my folds and my lips. Nah, that didn't happen. So when I saw oil, I said, okay, oil will work. She's shaking it up. She said, okay, Dad, you come here. And when I say go, you're going to pour this oil all around the area. And he was lit by that. He was like, hey. And so Nurse Raina went in with her fingers inside to stretch me out. And she was like, okay, Dad, go. And he's like, hey, get it, push out the baby. Like, they're going in, their energy is electric. So he's pouring it, and she's doing it, and he's like, baby, I see him. Like, he's here, you just need to push. So then I felt the next contraction, because that's something else that they don't tell you. The epidural does make you numb But when it's time to push, you feel the contraction. It's not as, severe, but I felt the pain, I felt the pressure, but it's good to feel it so that you can then inform your people around you, like, it's time to push. So my husband's here, Raina's now over here. I pushed, and then they were like, he's here. They just kept saying, he's here, and I'm like, what do you mean he's here? Because he's not in my arms. Dr. Lauren comes in, she's like, oh yeah, he's here. So basically I gave around 10 or less good pushes, and then the other nurse, she said, look, and she pointed to the mirror, and I was like, what? And I couldn't really see because it was obstructed. And then I looked down, and the baby was here. The baby was looking at me in the face. What? What do you mean? Look, and the baby's here. I did not even feel him come out. And oh my gosh. The emotions that I felt seeing him right there in front of me, and the spotlight is on us. So cinematic. It was so dramatic at the same time. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he was actually here. I still cannot believe that he's actually here, and I'm touching him and feeding him and holding him and smelling him, and it all does not feel real. Still, I saw him, and they put him on my chest. I was still bleeding out a lot. Still, that blood transfusion conversation still is happening. Our baby came sunny side up, which means that his head was facing up when he came out. I guess he was eager to see the world. They delivered my placenta, and my placenta had abrupted. That's why I had such severe pain. My placenta popped and started to detach away from my uterus. That's why I was passing the clots. That's why my contraction pain, even though I was only 3 centimeters dilated, was so severe, because my placenta was leaving my uterus, which causes, as you can imagine, so many complications, including fetal death, because the placenta carries the oxygen and nutrients to your baby. So once that completely leaves my uterus and detaches, there's no more oxygen being transmitted into the baby. We were so close. We were so close not being here. I saw the abruption. I saw how much of it was disintegrating and coming off. I saw it. If I would have waited, so many ifs. If this, if that, I'm just happy we're here. So my baby comes onto my chest, and of course, babies are different colors when they come out. My baby was blue. I said, okay, that's a little normal. No, well, he was born with hypothermia. He did not get a chance to develop the brown fat while he was in my tummy, so he came out and he was severely cold. And I was just holding him on my chest and seeing his face, and I said, he looks just like me. Because I knew it from the first ultrasound that he was going to look just like me. And so he was on my chest. It was blue. They allowed me to have that skin to skin, and then they had to take him away to that heat lamp. So the heat lamp was in the room, and they weighed him, they measured him, they got him under that heat lamp to warm him up. He was not getting warm. They were trying to warm him up. His temperature kept dropping. They were trying to warm him up, because if he did not get up to temperature, they would have to separate us and take him to the NICU. I was still on magnesium drip and something else. I was hooked up to machines. I could not leave that hospital bed for a total of 24 hours after he was born because of the magnesium drip. So if he were to go to the NICU, my husband could go, but I would be alone. How traumatic and traumatizing would that be, giving birth and then being separated from your baby and your husband? His glucose levels at this point had gone down. They immediately had to put him on formula to get his sugars up. And they tried that, and they tried it again, and tried it again. Finally, his levels were up. Again, they did not have to take him to the NICU unit. Good. All of a sudden, my little blue baby turns yellow. He's yellow now. So he went from blue to yellow. They checked him for jaundice. Everything was fine. He's getting more yellow. They checked him again for jaundice. He's jaundiced. Meanwhile, I'm still bleeding a lot. So they tried to give me medicine to stop the bleeding. That medicine gave me the shakes severely, to the point where I had never felt this cold in my life. I shook so convulsively that I could not control the way that my arms and legs were moving, and they tried to give me the baby so I could hold him, and I felt like I was about to hit him. I could not control where I was going. It was so scary. It felt like I was having a seizure, and it lasted for so long. And they put heating pads on me. They took a portable heater and blew it all over my skin, and nothing helped. The shakes were horrible. I already had the shakes from the contraction pain. Then I had the shakes from the epidural. But these shakes were something that I never had in my life. And the fact that all this was happening at the same time, mind you. I gave birth, and all of this was like within the 30 minutes after giving birth. His glucose levels going down, him going from blue to yellow, and me having the shakes and seeing the placenta. All this is within 30 minutes after giving birth. Finally, the shakes end, and I'm finally able to hold my baby. I'm able to hold my baby after hours of not being able to. And that feeling is indescribable. He was so small. He was just so little and skinny and precious. Then the magnesium drip started to take over, and I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. I had to go to sleep, and I felt so guilty going to sleep, but my baby was asleep, and they were like reassuring me, it's okay, you need to rest. You just went through so much, you need to rest. But I was like, I don't want to miss 1 second of our baby. But I fell asleep. I knocked out. In total, I labored 32 hours, which sounds insane, but 32 hours I was in labor from start to finish. And because of my levels and of baby's levels being premature, we were in the hospital for about a week, and they kept monitoring me for high blood pressure, and my spikes just kept going up and up and up, and baby kept getting more and more jaundice. But we're okay. That week felt like a month in the hospital. So much uncertainty, so many ifs. Lots of me and my husband just being in awe. But everything worked out. We're here. We are surviving and thriving and happy. And baby is safe. Baby is gaining so much weight. He is a hungry, hungry hippo. He has just gone, he gained 36% of his birth weight back. And yesterday would have been his actual due date, which is crazy to think. He came a month early, and he's absolutely perfect. I am now off of blood pressure medicine. My blood pressure is normal. Honestly, I've been getting actually low blood pressure readings, which let's keep that in mind. Clock that. the actual pushing and birth experience was beautiful. It was electric. It was thrilling. It was fun. Nurse Rena and my husband hyped me up to the max. I'm so grateful for them. They are angels, truthfully sent from God to help me out with this experience. What happened before and after was a lot, and I didn't realize how much it affected me, or how drastic it was, and how severe it was, and the risks, how badly that we could have passed away. Like I didn't understand all of that until a week maybe after I gave birth, maybe longer than a week after, when we got back home for the first time. And I've really let it sit in for 2 days, and I realized what happened. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that this is my birth story. But I'm so happy that it ended positively. I say thank you to all the medical staff that helps me through this time. Most importantly, I say thank you to my husband. He has been my rock through all of this. He has kept his composure. If ever he had scares or worries or nerves or anxiety, he never showed it to me. When I couldn't move off that medical bed, and when I was taped up and hooked up to machines and I could barely hold our baby, he did every diaper change. He did every swaddle, every calming him down, feedings. He did it all, and still does, really. I'm so thankful to him. I'm so thankful to God for getting us through, for helping us. I should not have worn white and makeup because I knew I was going to cry. But if I had to do it all over again for our son, I would do it. I would do it gladly, without blinking about it. And now I'm prepared for the next pregnancy. I know what to expect. I know my risks. I know how this whole situation goes. And I have learned through this experience how to advocate for myself and advocate for my unborn child, to advocate for my then born child, and also the knowledge that the doctors work for us. So they can't force me to do anything that I'm not comfortable with. They can give suggestions based off of their knowledge and their schooling. However, I can say no if I want to. And I never thought about that. I never knew that, especially when Dr. James was like, no, there's nothing you can do. You have to deliver early. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. And hearing every single woman in the NST say, I'm being induced today, I'm being induced tomorrow, I'm being induced early. Like, it felt like there was no way to say no. It felt like there was no other option. And although our son actually came earlier than the induction date they wanted to put me on, I'm happy that my body did it naturally. I'm happy that I had that experience. And it was so unique that I did not have a mucus plug come out. My water broke in 3 spurts over an hour's time, to the point where I didn't even know if that was my water breaking or me just peeing on myself, because let's be real, during pregnancy you're going to pee on yourself. So my experience was not what I thought it was going to be at all. However, I have a wild birth story to tell, and I thank you for listening. As always, much love, Sidney.